Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and joining me, my host companion, Sejan Sarowick. Sejan?
Pay no attention to the man adjusting his mic. Sorry, my my pop screen fell just died in the middle of your statement. Sorry, give me a sec.
That's okay. I can fill time. I can fill time by making good on a promise we were too distracted to answer a week ago.
Okay.
And that is that Tosh.O has been around for 11 years.
11.
Which means, and it's been consistent for 11 years. 11 seasons, 11 years, beginning in 2009.
Clarify, unpack, if you will, the term consistent in this use.
Oh, in the fact that it never had
quit.
like a hiatus.
Okay.
It's been new content each year of the 11 years that it's existed. It's not like, I'm trying to think, some show that Totally Spies has 12 seasons, but
Yes.
it was 20 years
Right.
that it took them to do 12 seasons of Totally Spies. Weird example to grab, but
Not like Futurama, a show that we frequently talk about on our show, but yeah.
Yeah, but like Totally Spies was never outright canceled. Futurama was canceled and over and then resurrected. It's two separate things. I mean, Aqua Teen would be another good example, or even Venture Brothers, but I don't have the hard data to actually report on it. I talked to someone about Totally Spies today.
So there you go, everybody. Hard data.
But yeah, so it's been 11 years, coming out in 2009, which means that Tosh.O debuted post my college undergraduate career. And I would have never fucking believed that.
Oh, really?
Because I can think of no reason why I would ever watch Tosh.O except I was in some dorm room with people.
I mean, because you were still friends with us, and people younger than us, than me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess that makes
you were
sense.
still in some. You were in college for about 2 years after you left college.
Actually, I mean, that's not true. A year after I went to the sea, and then everybody was gone.
Well, that can be blamed. I bet you watched at least 1 or 2 episodes of Taj there.
Oh, there's no Comedy Central on the ocean.
But they don't buy up shows like they do in like some hotels where like they just have like a weird run of like an episode of Gunsmoke and then Tosh.O and then American Dad and then like
So what they do, I mean, Carnival does not do that. Carnival licenses the satellite feed from, of all places, Colorado. So
Okay.
You have Colorado Fox and Colorado CBS. And you have live television on both of those. So, like, while I was on the ocean, I was, like, keeping up and watching American Dad.
How does that work out
episodes.
time zone wise?
Perfect for my needs.
Well, then
Like,
maybe that's why Colorado.
I guess. It was just, like, crazy. Because in 2010, I knew everything about the Colorado, elections. I knew all about the characters. I was like a big not proponent because like I understand why he shouldn't have been elected. I didn't want him to be elected, but it was very important to me that I was exposed to the Colorado election, like for governor, and a man named Ken Block. I believe his name is Ken Block. And the whole thing was it was Ken Block and he was running against the female candidate. I don't remember her name. Ken Block ended up losing, so, score 1 for the good guys, really, in the grand scheme of things. But what bothered me was I would see these, like, mud-slinging ads against Ken Block that he was a judge before he was running for office, and in one case of rape, he called it buyer's remorse. Right? Right, which is that's gross. That is a gross thing to say in every way, shape, and form. But then, like, because of how gross it was, but also because I'm like, well, I should fucking hate this guy, right? Based just on that, I should hate this guy. But then I'm like, but it's politics. I have been trained that every story has two sides. I'd really like to go back and see, like, what this actual court case was. And so I read the transcripts and everything, and while his choice of words definitely, Ken Block, he probably should not ever hold office.
Ken Block, our most consistent listener.
I don't know if that's his name. I'll have to look it up. That's a promise for next week. I will make sure that I have this guy's name. Like, I understand that, like, that's going to alienate voters and everything. But going back and reading it, it really did feel like, based upon the case as it was presented, and this is all the facts that I read from multiple sources. This is not how this is like how it's presented from like court documents and transcripts of things that were said by the defendant, the prosecutor and the prosecution, is that the woman had broken up with the guy, and then like weeks later she wanted him back. And he like, no, and then she called saying she was gonna kill herself if he didn't come over. So he went over, they ended up getting physical, and it seemed completely consensual at the time, and then she went to the police and said that he raped her.
Remember that time I asked you to make this a fun episode?
Yeah, no, I don't know where I got to this. I was going to talk about Tosh.O, and that was going to be a jumping off point to Paradise PD.
Well,
but like,
the idea that we ended up then talking about a rape case that falls flat is not too far off from Tosh.O material. The only thing is we didn't make a joke out of it.
Right, exactly. We didn't corpse at the camera.
Fuck, man. Tosh.O. It's you're not wrong. I mean, like, the idea that why was I ever watching it definitely is prevalent in my mind as we like reminisce about it yet again a second week in a row.
Well, no, it's not. First of all, there was a gap week. We had a Tosh gap week. Thank God for that. And no, but it's just one of those things where like I thought it was 11 seasons spread out over, let's say, like 16 years, and that would make sense knowing Daniel Tosh and some of the hot water that he got into with comments and his public persona. Mm-hmm. But then to find out that it premiered in 2009 and is now going into its 11th season in 2020, that means that it's been consistently being produced.
Yeah, and it's what makes me not really feel bad about you and I doing this show and anything we ever really touch on or talk about, because like apparently everybody gets to have a voice, so I'm happy. I don't know. It's weird because I think that other people have done what Tosh is doing on that show so much better, you know, before and since. Like, it was not a novel idea when he did it, and it has not been a novel idea when anybody else has stolen it. But like, isn't Lorenzo Lamas like hosting America's Funniest Home Videos now, and it's like primarily like phone videos or something?
Alfonso Romero.
Alfonso Romero, that's who it is.
And it's AFV now, America's Funniest Videos. They dropped the H.
Because they don't necessarily qualify as home videos anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the whole point of it. But yeah, you're not wrong, and that's the thing. But we said that we would make good and look up how many seasons of Tosh.O and how long it's been on, and it was just one of those things. I guess like I was going to houses and people just had it on because we needed noise. And yeah, that's what that is, and I guess.
That's like the answer, right? Is like weirdly the reason why it was in our lives is because a lot of people got into Tosh. Like in a very, very kind of weird way. Like I remember going over to like friends' houses and their parents would be watching it. It wasn't that my friends were all in it, because a lot of our friends kind of were with us in the camp of like, why is this a thing? Like, it was never something I was like a fan of. But I know a lot of people's parents that were way into it. Maybe they thought they were getting in on the joke because it was a bunch of YouTube videos, and they were like, "This is it. This is YouTube culture. I understand my children now."
I mean, like, you got to think it came out right when like the inception of the internet as something anyone could use to do this. Because I think about like
is the year that YouTube gets sold to Google in 2008, right? Yeah. 2005 is when they first start. 2008 is when they get sold off, and within a year, Tosh is doing his show. Oh, and it's all YouTube based.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and that's the fact of it. But then it made it such like an accepted thing. Like Tosh.O, as much as you and I are not fans of it or what it is, it holds an important place in the development of the internet for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in how TV was going to adapt to survive once the YouTube became a thing, right? I mean, at the time, if you had told anybody that YouTube was going to be the TV killer, or that online streaming was going to be the TV killer, nobody would have believed, like nobody would have understood like why that was what you thought, right? But here we are 10 years later, and sure enough, like Tosh.0 is the thing that consistently has survived on TV because it adapted quicker than anybody.
It almost by necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason we're done with Tosh.0, right? So don't think. Good. But the reason I bring it up is because there's another show, Brickleberry, and I always thought that Tosh.0 was a big part of that, when really he just voiced the bear.
Yeah, all he did was voice the bear. They needed a celebrity to come in up for somewhere in the cast, because that's what these shows always do, right? And he was the bear.
Yeah, he was not Waco O'Gwyn or the other guy, Roger Black, I think his name is, who developed that show. And I haven't watched an episode of Brickleberry yet. Well, that's not technically true, but I have now, since Siegen told me to, watched through everything available in the Paradise PD universe twice.
Nice. Yeah, it's a very rewatchable show. Both seasons are very rewatchable.
It's crazy. Like, if you, first of all, that's why this is the Paradise Report. Welcome to Paradise.
Nice.
But you're not wrong. Like, and it's weird because it grows on you. Really, it's like a disease. It's like a fungus. Where, because I showed someone the first episode, Dale. I showed Dale the first episode, and I showed spoilers for Paradise PD, right, just in case. And the reason why I'm like, I need to see if you like this show enough to keep watching it, or if I can jump to a joke in the second season or second part, because Netflix has no fucking idea what it's doing anymore, that I know you will enjoy. And we watched the first episode, and she's like, yeah, I like the hillbillies, and not Terry Two Toes. I like the video store guys. And I'm like, well, I think you're supposed to. I gotta tell you. The guys voiced by the creators of the show, yeah, I think you're supposed to like them. But then we jumped, and then she's like, I didn't like it, but all right, let me show you this joke. And it's the cop bot just ripping off Brooklyn Nine-Nine jokes.
Yeah.
Which is just hilarious to me. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like, there you go. That's what you want.
The cutaway, the semi-cutaway to the actual Brooklyn Nine-Nine, not actual, but like real Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where it is the most inoffensive yet like it's weird because they're not hating on Brooklyn Nine-Nine like at all, but they're not wrong in some of their.
It is right on the money.
Yeah, it is pretty much right on the money.
It is a 5-second
animated Terry Crews screaming into the camera. It was pretty on point.
It's 5 seconds of them being like, "This is Brooklyn Nine-Nine." Like, honestly, if we had to sum it up in 5 seconds, this is the show. Is there a lot more besides that? Yes. But 99% of it is Andy Samberg does something stupid and someone reacts.
Oh my god.
And I still like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've really enjoyed this season.
This season's been great.
Yeah. It feels like they had growing pains, like coming over to NBC, and then they're like, no, we just do the show. We don't need to do anything different just because we're on NBC.
Oh man, we rewatched the house party episode with the new chief. I think it's only like episode 2,
yeah,
2 or 3.
Captain Kim.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is really good. But this has been a really odd police themed like time for me. Mm-hmm. With watching the Police Academy over and then watching Paradise PD, and really what I have learned, what I have derived from all of this is I like continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity is what I am looking for.
Yeah, I mean, especially in my humor nowadays, like a show is so much funnier, and Arrested Development is the king of this, right? But like the idea of being able to recall a joke from 3 seasons ago, the idea of being able to follow a character and say, hey, there was some actual growth there. It gives such a good grounding to the humor that it just feels so much better. It just is better funny. It is better funny.
It's better funny. And here's the thing. The big sport. How you finished Paradise PD Part 2?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure. The big thing about it is that it crosses over with Brickleberry in the 7th episode.
Yes.
So that is my
Okay.
exposure to Brickleberry.
I like that I like that that's your big thing, but okay.
What do you mean that's my big thing?
I thought you were going to give away the end of the season. That's the
No. No. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's why I told you not to read episode titles. Because the title of episode 7 is Paradise PD meets Brickleberry. And it's like, well, that was fun because it derives so organically that it happened in the show.
I mean, it honestly, the instantly thought of the moments when Family Guy has crossed over with American Dad, specifically in the movie episodes of Stewie Kills Lois, when like they end up at the CIA and Stan and Bullock are in the episode for about 10 minutes. Like it felt like that, like in terms of how organic it worked, because like completely unexpected. Obviously, this is where they were going. All of it is just perfect.
Yeah, and it's I don't know anything about Brickleberry, but my only experience with any of this beforehand was a video about Family Guy clones, shows that took Family Guy and just did Family Guy again.
Yeah, except Family Guy is also a clone of The Simpsons, which is a clone of All of the Family, which is a clone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It's it's a clone of a clone of a clone. Right. But no, like knowing that, watching Brickleberry, and again, I've only ever experienced Brickleberry through the Paradise PD filter. I gotta say that Paradise PD has grown in a lot of ways. Like now that I know that Brickleberry is on Hulu, which is honestly what it feels like the whole point of that episode is.
Hey, we have another show,
Like when it's like, will we ever see you again? I don't think anyone will ever see us again. We're on Hulu, and I'm like, oh, they're on Hulu, and I went and added it to my list immediately because I'm like, I like this Paradise PD, but you see, like outside of Hi Netflix Woody or Ginger Steve, like outside of those jokes. The hillbillies are the same characters.
Yeah, man. I've watched a fair amount of Brickleberry simply just because it was in that perfect time slot, like right after Daily Show or right before
right after South Park.
Right after, like in that like grouping, so good structure there on Comedy Central's part to like get me to watch that. So I've actually seen a weird amount of that show, and I've never considered it like a favorite of mine. Still don't. I'm not coming around on that. It's interesting to me. I had an inkling that Paradise PD was made by the same people when the first season dropped or first part dropped, and then like it was confirmed for me pretty quickly through everybody talking about Paradise PD and talking about how Brickleberry was the precursor to it. So like I was legitimately surprised how much I enjoyed the first season of Paradise PD, kind of in part of how much I just kind of don't care about Brickleberry. I just don't. Like it's not offensively bad to me in any way. It's just not a show that I care about. If it had come to me 5 years earlier when I was still in college, I think I would have actually fallen in love with that show, probably.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. The way that Paradise PD now evokes that nostalgia you had 10 years ago.
Right.
In like that crazy thing. That like if it had come to you while you were there, you would be nostalgic for that and you'd be calling Paradise PD a ripoff. But yeah. The real big switch is that Kevin is Chief Crawford's son. That like Woody and Steve are not related means that there's no stakes in that relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, also like
Sarah
in all honesty,
Chalk,
like
I mean, she's always going to be better than Lacey Goranson.
I mean, honestly, what for me at Paradise PD, there is a lot. It's a lot smarter, I think, than Brickleberry ever was, and I mean that in terms of like the way that it wants to talk about representation. It wants to talk about things. Not that Brickleberry didn't. It's that Brickleberry just never felt like it could. You know, like every time it did start to talk about any of those issues, it, they always wanted to make the joke. They never actually wanted to like improve the world. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that Paradise PD is out there saving lives, but like there is a lot more thought and a lot more intelligence behind some of the choices that get made for the shitty jokes in Paradise PD. And I don't know, man. It's hard to talk about like dick and fart humor and say like, well, I like this one because it's smarter, but that's legitimately what it is.
Yeah, no, it's that. It's definitely smarter. I mean, right down to the fact that you were like, I didn't need it to continue. It felt like it ended and it wrapped up really nicely. But then, like, that's the exact way I feel after watching part two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it somehow took what felt like a crazy plot twist that, I mean, I kind of saw coming because there was no other person it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I'll rip the band-aid off. Like, it had to be Fitz. It couldn't be anybody else.
Well, that was yeah.
Like,
that being said, the reveal at the beginning of the episode, or the red herring in that episode that it's possibly Santa Claus was like perfection. Like
Stoker, that's
so
Stoker and Hoop right there. That was so Stoker and Hoop for me.
Yeah. But it's such a good like this has gotten so out of hand. Who could it possibly be? Santa Claus. It's like, okay, sure, but the fuck. And then that's why I said that it kind of felt like it was such a good ending, because to then like stumble back on that and reveal Fitz is just like it was a double whammy, right? Like it was a one punch and it was Santa, the next punch and it was Fitz, and I was just like, this is so good, but also so ridiculous that it defies any need for an explanation.
Yeah, no,
so like the idea that I might get one was almost disappointing. I'm not disappointed now though.
No, because they made it work in this way that like, oh, that it makes perfect sense that he has a fractured personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's something I just said about an animated sitcom, is that the inanity that they presented to us makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
It totally works.
Right, because it's grounded within its own reality. I won't say that it's grounded in reality with a capital R, but it's definitely grounded within its own in a way that, again, like Brickleberry just isn't, just because, you know, say what you want about it, about Comedy Central's animated fare outside of South Park. It lands or it doesn't.
I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to watch Brickleberry. You're probably going to get to hear my thoughts on that. They're not going to be as extensive as my thoughts on Paradise PD, I don't think. Because I don't think I'm going to go back and watch Brickleberry a second time. But I liked the first season of Paradise PD enough to feel like I want to watch it again before I watch the second season. And then today, knowing that I wanted to talk about it, I rewatched the second season.
Nice.
And I gotta tell you, my favorite thing about it, first of all, the fact that Satan exists in the world and shows up in the first season in a Dungeons and Dragons episode, like, thumbs up, like, real thumbs up. But then for Satan to come back and the way that he is used in the second season, yeah, it's good. It's a good show. Check out Paradise PD. There's still way more that we have not discussed.
Oh yes, there's tons of great gags and running jokes and stuff. And the last thing I will say about adult animation for today is if somebody tell me whose like cold dead hands I have to pry Ugly Americans out of in order for it to be available anywhere, somewhere, anywhere, please.
I don't disagree with that. Ugly Americans was awesome.
Both seasons are they're some of the best like not Adult Swim adult animation I've ever seen. Like, yeah.
A good comment. Like, someone talked to me about that like last year, and I'm like, I really liked that show. Mm-hmm. Why has it like disappeared from the collective consciousness?
Yeah, and it was on Amazon Prime for a while when Amazon Prime was first kind of getting huge. So like I remember sitting in my like dorm room in BG, like I was at Bowling Green State University when I was watching Ugly Americans, and I remember just like loving every episode of that from day one. It wasn't even like I had to come around on that show. Like I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, it was good commentary and it was funny. It was
Hmm.
so good. All right, so we did this episode kind of backwards from how we usually do episodes. Well, now I'm going to ask you, CJ, what have you been up to
Yeah,
besides
well,
this?
yeah. I mean, there's no easy way to segue into it, but we should totally talk about some Final Fantasy, man,
Yes, yes, we should. We should talk about Final Fantasy.
and about how it's gonna explode my PS4.
I'm going to wait.
I downloaded the demo, and the PS4, my PS4 started running so loud and hot, I feared for its life and immediately unplugged it.
Wow.
Yeah, whatever is going on with that particular demo, wherever it is on my hard drive, something is ripping my PS4 apart.
It's
So I ended up
massive. Like,
yeah, yeah. So I actually didn't get to play it on my own. So I have been like, I went to like a compatriot's house and like was like, I need to play this at least once this weekend, and it's only like an hour. Give me some time. So I sat down with it. Holy crap, man!
spoilers for
Performance
Final
issues of my
Fantasy
PS4
VII.
aside,
People have said I don't want to spoiled on the podcast, and so I'm warning those people who have said that to me. We're going to talk about the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo right now.
yeah,
Apologies. I
yeah,
imagine you're texting me right now saying, "Dude, WTF?"
dude, yeah.
But yeah,
I,
no,
it's
we're
a
gonna
game.
we can
It's a
talk about
game
it.
that's very old. I just want to point that out. It's been out before. All right,
Right, it's a
let's
game
talk
that's
about it.
very old, but and this is the difference. The delivery is so different in a way that
Okay.
like I I know that I'm waiting because against the odds, Phil Collins, I really enjoyed it when I forced myself to play the PlayStation version last year.
Hmm.
Because like it's not that I don't like that type of RPG. I mean, at this point, I've beaten every Final Fantasy 1 through 5 and 7. I get really far in 6, but then I get obsessed with maxing out all of the Magitech pieces,
Right,
and
right.
I burn out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to playing through Final Fantasy VI sometime this year and just not giving a shit about Magitech the way that I didn't really care about materia in Final Fantasy VII.
Well, it's a good thing you don't care about materia, Dev.
Well, we are living in a materia world, and I am a materia girl. Uh,
uh, I don't know how much materia we're going to see in this one.
well, the thing about that is, I feel like that's just the demo. Because very clearly, on both Barrett's wet gun arm and Cloud's Buster Sword, you see materia slots.
That's true. That's you're not wrong.
And
They are built with materia in mind.
and Cloud has one green in his slots and Barrett has two green, which explains the fire on Cloud and the thunder and cure on Barrett.
Hmm.
So I'm just saying, like, I feel like it's you don't really do anything with materia until after the section that is featured in the demo.
Yeah, no, that's true. When you get back to the hideout is when you first get really start digging into that sort of stuff. Yeah, no, I am curious because for a demo about a Final Fantasy VII game, and I will not say that it is anything like the original in any other way. So let's start from there. It's hard. I don't know how to talk about this game because it is not Final Fantasy VII, but it is. You know what I mean? And that's not a criticism in any way. I want to start off by saying I think it was a pretty rad demo, blanket. But like from there, it's also not Final Fantasy VII, and I think that that's part of people's concern and part of what I've had to come to terms with myself is like I cannot go into this trying to figure out like my limit breaks and all this other shit. I will they will work that stuff in its own way. Like the fact that we're not dancing after every win is actually kind of a good thing. Like stuff like that is kind of good, you know. So materia is probably going to show up. I'm curious to see how though, because so much of my Final Fantasy VII experience, every time I play it, is menu based. To the point where like I'm the guy that like designed his menus. They give you that option to like color the menus, put in a cool fade, all that shit. And I spent an hour doing that the last time I played Final Fantasy VII because I was like, I'm going to be looking at you a lot. I'm going to make you at least look pretty, right? And like so the idea that in all of the demo, I didn't have to really enter a menu once, and I've watched other people now play through it, and they never really had to either. It's weird to me. Like playing Fantasy VII and it not being a menu-based RPG is wild.
I'm glad that you enjoy it. I'm disappointed because for 20 years, 22 years, I was this guy who's like, I've never played Final Fantasy VII. And then last year, I rectified that. And I gave it like an honest to goodness try. And I beat it. And I felt very good when I beat it. Though, like, I know I was like on the verge of insanity with the game. Because I spent like 12 hours playing it where I'm like, I just want to be done with you. And I still enjoyed it doing that, but like I can't think of a time that I've been with a video game like that in a very long time, if ever.
Yeah, man.
And that's saying something. But now, right, it's 2020 and we're going to get the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And there is this small part of me that cannot help but feel like it's going to be 22 more years before I actually complete the entire magnum opus.
Yeah, I think they do it in 4 games. Is this what you're worried about? Is that it's
No,
going to take
no,
them
no, 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 no,
four?
no, no. I think that uh, I have always the thing that moved me away from playing RPGs was the move away from menu based combat. I fucking hate the Secret of Mana. Even though I am saying right here and now, I'm going to beat Secret of Mana this year. I'm going to force myself to finish it. That being said, I don't really like that game. And that's strange and that's weird to say. And then I look back at like Kingdom Hearts 3 last year, where like I don't really want to play you, but I have 4 other people here with me, and they'll pull me through the parts of this game that would make me stop playing Kingdom Hearts 3. And I got through it. But the combat in Kingdom Hearts 3 felt so much more fluid than the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. And that really kind of bothered me. It's like, either make it a full action game like Devil May Cry, or keep it a menu-based RPG. The stuff that I hated in this demo was when I had to open up a menu, and you say that you never open up a menu, but you do it on like the fly to like cast fire or to use a healing potion.
Yeah, sure, that's true. I mean more like the like sitting in the menu and reading through like making sure certain people are healed the right way, going through and seeing who's got what spells on them, knowing, oh, I'm gonna lose this person in 20 minutes, so I want to make sure that I'm taking all of their materia off of them. Like doing a lot of that type of like inventory management, figuring out where people stand in the line. Like, okay, so when we go into battles, I want Barrett to be actually to my left. I want Aerith to be to my right, and I want Cloud to be in the middle, but in the back, so that he's taking less damage. Like doing that sort of crap, is the fact that that's not gonna it just can't be in there, like because of the way that this fighting is gonna be it makes it a whole new game. It makes it a completely different game.
Right. I think we're saying the same thing, but I think we're saying it from different approaches, where what bothers me is not that I don't have to obsess over that stuff, because I obsess over that stuff too. You're not alone. That's a big part of that type of game. But when I'm fighting, it feels like a stop in the action to be like, oh, okay, now I'm going to use the fire spell. Mm-hmm. And like the fight against the boss, the scorpion tank fight, was so tedious to me in a way that like I'm talking about a remake of a fight that like used to just be hitting the X button like over and over again to like choose what I wanted to do against this creature.
Yeah.
Felt more tedious in an action style RPG.
See, it felt super kinetic to me because what I could do is I could input the commands for Cloud to do like a limit break, and then as he's performing it, go over to Barrett and hit the dude with lightning. And then by the time I was done, by the time I got him going his lightning thing, I could then go back to Cloud and then start doing some small hits off of him when the like you know what I mean? Like while an action was happening, I could actually move to the other dude and get like keep going. And so like I never stopped. Like I never stopped. So it didn't even like occur to me that I was even in quote unquote menus at that part. Although you're completely right. That's what they are. Like it just didn't even occur to me to consider that as like menu based because I was never not also like out of the corner of my eye watching this action that I was also committing at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it just it hit me so hard, and I think maybe because it was the first time for me last year playing the game and then coming to this and being like, oh, this feels odd. But also you need to realize that I had a real renaissance with like the action button masher. Like I know there's an actual term for it. Arcade action shooter, I think is what the proper term is. Like a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I got back into playing those last year, and a big part of that, I'll admit, was Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, I really enjoyed playing as Sora and how it felt like that style of game. Because I wasn't expecting that at all from a Kingdom Hearts game. I was expecting it to be more menu-based, which annoys me. And there are menu moments, but I don't know. It just was weird. Like, it wasn't satisfying to me as an action fighter, and it wasn't satisfying to me as an RPG. Like a menu-based RPG. For me, it was this, they took the worst parts of both of them and were like, and this is the game now, Devin.
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff in like the way that you move through the environment that was getting to me. Like the lasers, I could not tweak it in a way that Barrett was not just like walking through lasers constantly. I was like, I'm going to set you up here, and then I'm going to switch over to Cloud, and then I'm going to go through the nope, don't follow me, and he would just walk on through. And like he just kept getting hurt in that scene, and it was like pissing me off. I ended up having to like leapfrog. Like I'd go through first with Cloud, and then jump back to Barrett before he had a chance to hit the lasers. Then go through with Barrett, then go through with Cloud, then jump back to. It was
I just
so,
ran
like,
through as Cloud and didn't worry about Barrett.
Well, I was worried about Barrett because in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to become him again. And, you know, and then like suddenly I'm in him and he's got like half health because of the stupid freaking lasers.
I mean, I get it. I understand where that's coming from. But yeah, it was, I don't know. How much time did you put on your bomb?
30 minutes. Why? I mean, like, is there a benefit to doing 20?
20 minutes, you get to see an extra cutscene at the end.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I figured I put 20 because I'm like, I did it in 10 minutes the first time.
Right. That was the thing, is I was like, I've never not gotten out of the bomb. I don't know what happens if you don't. Like, I assume a game over screen. So I was like, but also, if I have a choice, why would I not give myself more time? It didn't occur to me that they'd be like locking stuff behind the choice.
I didn't realize it because I just did the 20, like, out of habit. Like, well, I had 10 minutes the first time I did this. 20 minutes. I bet 10 more minutes will be fine. And I still did it in like 8 minutes. It's still.
You know what my real thinking was? Oh, I'm going to do 30 minutes because I don't want anything to happen to Jesse and Biggs.
Yeah, I mean, justice for Jessie. I'm a big Jessie fan. And
she's got a big part in this demo.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's the first mission. I don't know. I'm not sold on it. I mean, and I know that there's other factors. It is the fact that you're going to pay $60 for this game and get a quarter of it. Like, I don't think you're wrong with your 4 episode.
I actually think it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go 4 episode arc because the game splits really nicely into 4 parts, or it's going to go 5 because that's the traditional episodic release.
Yeah.
Is 5. So it's going to be in that range. I am curious to see how things go down the line in that vein. The stuff about Red 13 and everybody's just kind of like not asking if he's going to be playable in later episodes and just making assumptions that he either is or isn't. And I don't know why anybody doesn't actually have like a statement from Square Enix on what's going to happen on that front.
I mean, that to me just tells me that it's at once you escape Midgard, that's the end of this
Oh,
game.
they've outright said that. I think Eurogamer has like a full-on interview with them in which they talk about specifically Red 13 not being playable, and the developer that they're talking to says, "Well, he comes in so late in the game and he's not around for very long." So that right there tells you it's not long after they find him, right? And he said he comes in so late and he's not around for very long, so we want the audience to get as much time with him as possible. So essentially admitting like because you can pick your party, we don't want anybody to not pick him and then miss out on getting to know this great character that is important to the series, right? And I totally get that, especially if it's only going to be the end of that mission, right? But he pretty much outright said that. He's like, you get Red 13, and then that's the end of the game. And then it's like, oh, okay. So we're just admitting where that is. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I'm not sold on it. Again, I'm gonna wait until they're cheaper. I can't justify paying full price for a portion of a game that for $10 you can get the whole story. Like
yeah, maybe, but that's exactly where I'm coming from with the idea that it's not the same. It's not like it's like going to a reboot of a movie. It's not the same movie. Like
I'm not. I'll agree that it's not the same movie.
Right, like, right. And so in a lot of ways, like if this ends up being 100-hour experience just in that world, like it very well could be with all of the things that I've seen them change so far. Like I don't think we're gonna pay $60 for this game, be done with it in 5 hours, and then wait 3 years for the second part. I don't think that's how this is gonna work. So like you might find yourself playing this game sometime because if it turns out that like a sequel's in the works, you'll see it in 5 years. Like you have to treat this as just its own entity, right? Its own game. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe once this comes out, maybe they'll say, "Hey, by Christmas you'll have episode 2," which would be amazing. I'm not.
It'd be smart if it were like a launch title with these next gen systems, assuming they're still coming.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. And then on top of that, you add to all of this the fact that like the world is on pause for the moment. Like I'm thinking that right now. And this is maybe just me buying the marketing bullshit or whatever, but I'm thinking of this all as just its own game, not part one, not an episode. I'm just like, this is the game and it's going to have this cliffhanger ending so that sequels can come. Because if I start thinking about it in terms of episodes, I'd be in the same boat you are. I'd be like really upset about it in a way that would not be fun for me.
Yeah, that's, well, I mean, I think like if that were the only thing that bothered me about it, I could get past it. Like I could just be like, I'm not going to buy it new. I can take time, until I know more information about what this is. So like, why spend $60 when I can wait and maybe get it for $30 on Black Friday, maybe less. But then when I play the demo, and it's a game that I was excited to try, and I'm like, this didn't really work for me. This style of gameplay. I was bummed. I was legitimately kind of bummed because it's just stilted enough. And the other thing is, I understand that this is a demo, that this is a work in progress. This is not the final version. This is not what we're going to get. So all the things I'm complaining about, it could be polished away so that it feels more fluid. Right? Because kinetic is not the problem. I agree that it's a very kinetic experience, but it doesn't have the fluidity that I was hoping for.
Yeah, part of that I also wonder if it's the character issue. Right now, we've only really played as Cloud and Barrett, right? And so I wonder what the game would be like once we get our hands on somebody like Yuffie or even Red 13, or if that's a possibility. I mean, Sid has some some interesting move sets that like it could translate differently, so I wonder how it's going to feel once we have other characters to get our hands on too, but I think for this first episode you're probably not, your feelings probably aren't going to change too much, at least in this realm, because like you're talking about Tifa, you're talking about Cloud, you're talking about Barrett and Aerith, depending on what happens with her and how that works. So like there's not much room there for anything to get too crazy. I'll be curious to see how a support character like Aerith gets kind of in the mix.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's a good question. I'm excited to play as Tifa because she should be fast. She should be like, it should feel quicker. All right, this game was working for me kinda until I fought my first dog.
Really? I don't. I don't remember having that much trouble with the dogs. Really?
You know, it's not that I had trouble with the dog. I didn't have trouble with anything. Played on normal difficulty,
Hmm.
nothing. I was never in danger of like truly dying. Like I managed my inventory, I managed my characters. But that fight against the dog, I'm like, I don't care that this is some sort of like mutated dog thing. Why is it taking 5 times the effort to kill this as it took to kill the soldiers?
Oh, the soldiers are fucking nothing. They're
Like,
nothing, right? They're like paper bags.
yeah, it was such like a balance issue. And then you fight, you know, the Magitech armor. I can't think of what his actual name is, but it reminds me of the Magitech armor from 6.
Nice. Yep.
And it's like this feels like a real fight. Like this is cool
Yeah.
because like
So let me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Finish your
no,
thought.
that's it. That's all I'm saying. Is that like and that was a cool way to introduce that like well, we have to use magic so that we get these things tired.
Yeah.
And
Let me tell you three things that I absolutely hated.
yeah, that's good. No, thank you because I feel like I'm alone in it. But if you had
No, no,
things
no,
that you
no,
hated,
no, no, no,
I'm
no, no, no,
happy.
no. There's definitely bad shit in it. So that's what I'm saying. Is let me tell you three things that I hated, and then I will tell you the thing that like made it not matter. Is first of all, Heidegger. They've completely.
He's so fucking cool.
That's the problem.
I
He's not
know
supposed
that's
to
a
be.
huge problem.
Yeah. So there's this toxic, terrible conversation in the world about this game right now because of the redrawing of Tifa's profile. Let's put it that way. There is a loud and I believe and hope to whatever god of science exists that it is a vocal minority and not something worse than that of people that have been giving this game nothing but shit since the character profile stuff came out about the redesign of Tifa when all they have done for her is limited pulled back on her bust size to make her a more reasonable looking human being.
Yeah, she looks like a real
And
person now. She's
right.
like scary in the first game. Like it's like, how do you function?
She's literally infamous. Like her character build in the first Final Fantasy VII and in the original Final Fantasy VII is one of like the use cases when people talk about like upsetting designs of women in video games. Like her, Lara Croft, like right up there as like people pointing out like this is unnecessary and gross, right? And so like yeah, they took the opportunity in this redesign to make her more human, and you know they tried to play it safe by coming out and saying, well, we tried to think about what you know what she would actually be like in this world and her abilities and what she does, and it just made more sense that it flows better as a character in this way. And no, that wasn't enough. Like people have just like lost their shit. And again, I want to point out, I believe it to be a vocal minority of people, but it is one of the loudest voices that we've heard about this game from day one. So like all of this stuff that's come out about like Red 13 not being playable, the episodic nature of the releases, all of that shit has just fed the fuel in that particular realm of gross internet shit, right? And so it's really hard for me. It was really hard for me as I was playing this game to be like, I don't like the redesign of Heidegger, and I was like, oh no, am I one of them? And then I realized, no, it's the children that are wrong. I fully feel justified in saying here today that the whole point of that character is he is supposed to be this kind of emperor with no clothes on, right? Like he's supposed to be this guy that's in this high post, clearly just put there because he's a puppet. Clearly he has no actual like ability or tactics, right? And
He's the governor from oh frick that
every
the
Western ever.
no the Bruce Campbell show.
Oh,
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. I was gonna say Ash vs Evil Dead. Okay, yes, Jack of all trades. Nice, weird.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's Napoleon's brother, and that's the only reason he's in charge of the island.
Yeah, or I mean, like in Disney's Robin Hood, it's the Sheriff of Nottingham to Prince John, right? Like he is
That's
this
more
like
the Prince John to the Sheriff of Nottingham, because the Sheriff of Nottingham is actually like a capable person in the Disney Robin Hood.
in the animated one.
Oh
he's
yeah,
the fucking idiot collecting taxes.
Yeah, but but come on, he's not sucking his thumb. I will go to the mattresses with you, Sejin, as to who the more efficient villain is.
I will say that Prince John is maybe not as efficient as him. I will give you that. But in terms of who Heidegger is in this story and for the metaphor, he really is Prince John in that movie.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. He's Prince John.
I mean,
Heidegger is Prince John.
he really is the Sheriff of
I
Nottingham.
don't know. I haven't seen Robin Hood in a long time, but I feel like the Sheriff of
Sheriff
Nottingham.
of Nottingham is not a capable villain in that movie. You should watch it again. He is not a capable villain.
My memory of the Sheriff of Nottingham is thus.
It's Alan Rickman? Are you thinking of Alan
No,
Rickman?
I'm not thinking about. First of all, is not. Well, I mean, yeah, Alan Rickman is Prince of Thieves. I would more be thinking of Craig Ferguson. Is that who it was in Men in Tights?
I don't believe Craig Ferguson was in Men in Tights, but I might be wrong.
Who plays the sheriff in that one?
Oh man,
I thought it was. It's not Craig Ferguson.
I don't think Craig Ferguson was a thing when that movie was made.
I mean, he was, because Drew Carey's show, Mr. Wick, existed.
When did?
Whatever. It's not important. What we're doing.
I need to know when Men in Tights came out now.
1996.
Okay. Anyway, so
but yeah. All I want to say on that is, in 1991, Devin Decker.
1993 on Men in Tights, by the way.
Oh, 93,
so.
really? Then I'm an idiot. Screw me. Who played the sheriff in that movie? I just need to know.
Ferguson was very much another thing. Maybe this was like his first role. Roger Reese.
Roger Reese. I'm an asshole. Oh man, I just got my Cheers friendship revoked because Roger Reese plays Robin Colcord in seasons 7 through 11 of Cheers. Oh man, I'm an asshole.
Oh man, is he not also the asshole that from the very first episode? No.
He's not Sumter.
Oh man.
Anyway. Regardless, my memory of the Sheriff of Nottingham from Disney's Robin Hood is 1991. So I am 5 years old. I go down to Walt Disney World. I see him walking around to sign autographs. I friggin' stomp on his foot and run away. And I get yelled at by park security.
Nice.
I'm just a little baby boy. And I'm just like, he's a bad guy.
Yes.
And I attacked him.
Oh, man.
Which, could play into the whole ineffective bad guy, because I thought as a child, I can take him. And that's not just the normal Devin Decker, I could take him feeling. Is because of how he acts in it. But you're not wrong. Heidegger is not supposed to be capable.
Right. And so they've sexied him up and so there was this weird part of me that was like, that sucks. The other thing is, I thought we were past whatever is going on with Barrett and the acting. I thought as a people we had decided that video game acting did not have to be this anymore. So he reminded me of something out of like an early Resident Evil game. Like the voice acting on Barrett is just kind of unbearable to me right now. I'm hoping that as the game goes on and we meet his family and all of that sort of good stuff, that it becomes something more. I'm hoping this is just like this is just the starting point for this character situation.
Come on, Stamp. What's your problem? Don't you want to fight your ex-soldier buddies?
Oh my god, his scene in the elevator was what did me in. His whole fucking speech, and they clearly understand that he is over the top, because they then have an insert shot of Jessie rolling her eyes to Cloud, which is like perfect, right? They should feel that way about him. He should be this raging prophet. I'm not upset about them going in that direction with him. It's not executed well at all. Again, it feels like something out of like an early Resident Evil game, where it's just he's putting on a campy act in the way that no other actor we have heard in that demo behave.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Everyone else instantly grounded, and then maybe that's my other issue with him, is that, all right, so I've kind of wanted to play as Barrett since I first played Final Fantasy VII years and years ago. When I got it on Christmas Day and was like, oh my god, he's got a gun arm, but he's like a human. He's not like a Mega Man. He's like a human with a gun arm. This is cool. And then I got to play as him, and I'm like, I'll put up with your bullshit, Barrett, because I'm going to get to play as you with the minigun arm. And the minigun arm sucks. I'm gonna just say that. It wasn't satisfying using it. It's doing like
In
2-4 damage
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
stuff.
it's not. If everybody feels very. That's the other thing is that for everything that they've done with this game to really kind of move things forward, the idea that I am still starting with these characters that are so hindered in their ability, but I'm supposed to believe that they are this group that is not to be fucked with, was I. It felt so retro and not in a good way to me. It was like this is the thing you chose to hold on to. Like this is where you're gonna this is the hill you're gonna die on. Like in like nope, this is still a JRPG through and through. So you have to start out with nothing. It was just like come on, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
like almost to the fact where I'm like it. I could almost see it being that's the point, is that he's all bark and no bite. So he'll go on about this stuff, but then shooting his little gun, it's just him shooting his little gun. But like that can't be the character of Barrett
Hmm.
because we know what he's done, like losing Dine and all the other stuff that caused him to become an eco-terrorist by all accounts.
Right.
Like he needs to be capable. The only reason that the blowing up of Mako Reactor 1 happened cannot be the inclusion of Cloud. I need to believe that Avalanche could have accomplished this mission without Cloud being there. And I
Uh,
don't feel that way.
yeah, I mean, there's a reason that they hire him, though, right?
Right.
Like, there is a reason that he's there. So, they could have they could. My thinking is they could have blown up the reactor, but none of them would have survived. Like, you know what I mean? If
It
they
would have been
wanted
a
to do it
suicide
and
mission.
live,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, if they wanted to do it and live, they needed somebody like Cloud in there to get things done properly. Um, so like, there's yeah.
I mean, you
I'll
say
also
that
one
though, but there's
coda.
that whole thing where he's like, Tifa vouched for you. And it's like, so you guys don't even care about him, right? Like, you just,
Mhm.
Tifa said he's cool. And you're all like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's always been the
okay.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Like it's just
Yeah, that's
like,
always been the story.
I
Yep,
know
yep,
that's
yep.
always been the story, but it's like one of those situations where Tifa said he's good. That's good enough for us. But like, to infiltrate a reactor, like it would make sense that you would want to try to find somebody who knows the layout. The story has huge holes in it from the beginning, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing is not loving how much they're really driving home some of the weirdness with Cloud early on. Like they've added in a lot more instances of like, oh, there's something wrong with this boy. Like in a way that I don't. Maybe it's because I'm just so used to the old story, but I feel like the way in which they drip out information about what is actually going on with him and all that is so much better in the original version. But to your point, the story's also been super convoluted and confusing. So like clearly they needed to work on clearing some of that stuff up and cleaning some of that stuff up. So if this is an element of that, I can live with it, which is why it's not one of my big three. It's just a coda.
Yeah.
But like the way that they're pushing some of the Cloud stuff early on kind of ruins some of the fun, I guess, for me. Um,
But
but yeah.
also, you need to think about the fact that this could be it, right? This could be the only game. So you want to make sure you explore that stuff because in the actual game, in the game proper, you don't get to a lot of his issues until after they leave Midgar.
There is a moment early on. You get one hint of it where something is said and he has like his like high pitched whine migraine hit for like a second,
Mm-hmm.
but it's then gone. And then you're right, you don't then hear about it for like a disc later, right? Until a disc
Yeah.
later.
Well, though, because I mean, Midgar is still all disc 1. You don't
Hmm.
hit disc 2 until Golden, jeez. I don't. You
The
don't hit
Golden
disc
Nugget.
2 until no. It's not even the Golden Nugget. You don't hit disc 2 until the temple collapses.
Oh
Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
there's a lot of
Hmm.
game, but like to the point where after you leave Midgar and the thing is like, we need to find Sephiroth. I'm like, why? Why do we need to find Sephiroth? Like, what has motivated that to be what we're searching for?
Yeah.
Like, you talk to people and they're like, oh, we saw this guy, and Cloud's like, oh, that sounds like Sephiroth. We need to find him. And it's like, no, that seems like the wrong thing to do. It doesn't seem like, let's run to this guy who's fucking scary. I don't know. The story was not did not hit me the same way as it would have hit me if I played it back in my formative years. Like, there's a lot of it that doesn't make sense to me. But along that same line, something like Final Fantasy II, like the proper Final Fantasy II, have you ever played that one?
Mm-hmm.
I love that game. Final Fantasy II might be my favorite Final Fantasy game. And that is someone who, like, I lived and died by 4 for such a long time as the best one.
What did it come out as over here? 3, 4?
2 didn't release as anything. Final Fantasy II never released in America. Final Fantasy II in America was Final Fantasy IV, which is why I lived and died by it. And then once Final Fantasy VII came out and they decided they were going to retcon and use all the numbering, Final Fantasy, not Anthologies, because that's 5 and 6, not Chronicles, because that's Chrono Trigger and 4, Final Fantasy, like, Classics, or it's some Origins. Final Fantasy Origins is the first game and the second game. And Final Fantasy II, the story on display in that game blows me away. To the fact that I cannot believe that they came from that place and then so many plot holes, like, develop after that game. Because the first game makes no fucking sense. It's a time loop. You have to kill Garland 2,000 years in the past, 2,000 years in the future, so that he can get sent to the past and he can become a chaos spirit. And this is just happening. Like, that's just the cycle of life until you find a way to go back in time and kill him in the past. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Final Fantasy II is basically Star Wars. I will be the first person to admit that it's basically Star Wars. An evil empire has come and taken over the land, and you and your ragtag group of rebels are fighting against it. Mm-hmm. And your brother, the fourth member of your team becomes Darth Vader until you turn him around. And all that. But the thing that works for me about Final Fantasy II, and why I celebrate Final Fantasy II, is the driving force of that game is finding a spell called Ultima, which I'm sure you know Ultima from Ultima Weapons and Ultima Materia. Like, it's a big part of the Final Fantasy mythos. And their whole goal is, if we can find the ancient magic Ultima, we can easily defeat what's the problem is. Right. And it's because the developer of the game was like, this is stupid, right? Like, why would something from the past be able to deal with a future threat? And he coded it to be the weakest spell in the game. So that you get it, you use it, and it does fuck all. And then they realize, all right, we need to like, real world solve this problem. Because the MacGuffin didn't work. And, like, that was the story. And then Square's was like, people are going to hate that. Don't do that. And then the coder of the game's like, I'm just going to do it. And it's since been fixed. Like, every re-release, that is not the case. It scales with how many things you've mastered. So the stronger you are as a person, the stronger it focuses through you. But the original version of that game, and knowing that, it just, like, it's such a good story. It's such a good story element that, like, we put all of our faith and hope behind this thing, and then we found out it didn't work. And that's not what happens in Final Fantasy VII. Like, no offense.
No, not at all.
Like, all the, like, faith that they put in themselves pays off for them. And I don't know, it's weird. It's just a weird game. And playing the demo, I was like, okay, so it's more action-y, but, like, it still had the trappings of an RPG that didn't work for, I don't know. And then I was surprised fighting the Scorpion tank, being like, oh, I still need to wait for a bar to fill before I can do stuff, but I can be attacking all the time. What?
It's definitely a weird balance that they're gonna have to strike, and I didn't really pick up on there being too many downsides because I didn't really ever find myself in a bind, and like I was said before, like I was constantly moving, so like I didn't get hit with any of this. But there's so much more ahead, right? I mean, like first of all, the idea that there's always going to be three in your party going forward, the idea that you can now also have fighting companions nearby, the idea that there's the idea that magic works a little bit differently, but you still have to kind of drop into that menu to like pull it off and all that sort of stuff. The constant attacking was like kind of made up for the fact that I felt they were kind of weak actually. Like I don't know. It's definitely something that they're gonna have to fucking work on. So in a weird way, it kind of explains why they've been working on this thing for so long. Like I have to imagine these are all problems that they have come across and have been working their asses off to fix.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's the best summation of this game right now as it stands. Is the fact that obviously balancing it and trying to make it work as this style of game is probably what delayed it the way that it has.
Yeah. So can I say the one thing about it? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No. I'm excited to hear that. The last thing that I'm going to say though is because the hope in my heart is that the delay was so they could release it all at once. But now seeing it, playing it at home, like not at a PAX or not in a demo form like that, I feel like really they just perfected Midgar. And now they're
Right.
going to be perfecting the rest of
That's
it.
my fear. Yeah, my fear is that part of the reason that Red 13 is not playable yet is because they don't know how to do it. You know, and there's like a lot of that. Like how are they going to handle the outside world, the overmap? Are they? If they're not, then how do you do like the traveling and then like and grinding and stuff? And there's definitely some stuff that I'm very worried about because it almost feels like they haven't figured it all out yet, and that scares the pants off of me. How dare they release the first part of this game and not have a plan? I mean, obviously it's completely in their right to, and maybe they never make another one. I don't know, but like that is very concerning. That's like the only one major concern I really have is that they just don't know how to do any of that other stuff yet.
Yeah, and I could see that. I could totally understand why that's a concern. Honestly, I feel like that's really what my concerns are. And
Hmm.
rather than just putting it into a succinct thing like you did, I'm pointing at all these flaws and like patched over cracks as like, but they're saying this is good to go.
Right. This is what they consider to be the best option for
Yeah.
what they've decided, for sure, man. But I
Um,
have to say that the thing that like completely colored this entire experience for me, like the reason that I think that I enjoyed it as much as I did is the animation is gorgeous. It is some of the best in motion like visuals I've ever seen, and specifically the moment where the guards are overlooking the train. So like the very first moment of the demo, and you first see the Shinra soldier with the three lens helmet on. But like, I don't know what the point of the third lens is. I guess is it a weapon? I forget. Like, um, but the moment that I saw them in the style of what this game is going to be, I it almost brought a tear to my eye. It hit me right in this nostalgia. Like they just got me by showing the exact opening from Seven originally with the soldiers coming to check the train and everything, and that visual of that soldier with that helmet on just sold me instantly. I was just like, oh, this game is being made for me. Like they are trying to make me happy, right? And then like, a couple of moments later with Cloud flipping off the train and the reveal of all of the different characters was so good. And that moment when he first looks up at the Mako reactor or whatever Barrett says.
yeah, like it's Mako, but they're like Mako, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
is that the pronunciation? Have
Well,
I
and
been
I don't
saying it
does
wrong?
anybody else but Barrett say it the
No, they
entire
all
time?
say Mako. Like it's like that's the pronunciation in universe.
Oh man. But anyway, the visual style of this game right now has got me so hard. So like I'm looking at this thing almost literally through rose tinted glasses.
I mean, and that's the whole point of the first final. That's what Final Fantasy VII is. Final
Mhm.
Fantasy VII is this stamp that like, look what we can do,
Right.
and they definitely nailed that portion of it in this game. I don't care. I play retro games. I've
Mhm.
beaten ET on the Atari. Like, I don't need much more than a blob of pixels that I can identify as what I'm controlling.
Oh, I mean, and I'm not saying that I need these
No,
kinds
no,
of
no, no, no.
visuals in order
No,
to
no,
care
no.
about a game, right?
Right. I'm just saying that because of that, what I look for is the stuff that I'm focusing on. Is like I want the combat to be fluid, and it
Hmm.
really isn't. I want menuing to like not feel like it pauses the game, and it kind of does. So yeah. So my last thing that I want to talk to you about, in your demo, in your experience, did you get the scene where it's revealed that Shinra blew up the reactor?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I don't know what the extra bit is because
No,
I've
yeah,
never done
the
it the
no
other way.
the scene with the no the scene where after they make it out, Heidegger and what's his nuts there
The
turn to each
president.
other, the president, right? Yeah, I guess he's just President Shinra, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, they turn to each other and basically like nod at each other, and then you see them flip a switch and all of the machine life turns on the reactor and just like blows the shit out of it and then destroys each other. Like that's such an important part of the story. I guess for a demo, I guess they didn't need to show it, but like it's yeah, no, that was there.
Yeah. No. So that's why I wanted to make sure that that wasn't the change, because the big issue that we had when I was first playing Final Fantasy VII last year was it's kind of difficult for me to root for these terrorists. But that scene right there completely colors the fact that their bomb didn't do much. But Shinra saw an opportunity for a scapegoat in Avalanche.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, that's it. So I dug that sequence
Cool.
to be the way to like, okay, I can still root for these people.
Yeah.
Like even though what they did was not the greatest, the confirmation, because it's spoken about in the original game, but to actually have it confirmed that they did the damage and it wasn't just their little pipe bomb that they threw into the reactor
Right, right.
was very nice.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what goes on because from a storytelling standpoint, they have got a lot of really cool tools at their disposal. But from a video game standpoint, they still have a lot to prove. You're not wrong about that.
Yeah. And I think that's just where I stand. So anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this one up?
But I'm really happy. I was worried that Cloud was going to come across as really doofy. You know, I thought he was going to be a little bit more Sora-esque, I guess. Because in the original game, he comes off as kind of an asshole to it, like a lot of the time, and they're clearly still using that. But I was like, that's not going to work anymore. Like, he can't just be a dick to everyone he sees. And his relationship with Jessie specifically, like the way that they play her up, is choice in this. But then the way that he treats Biggs is like same old Cloud.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say it. Like I've been joking justice for Jesse, but like him developing a sort of relationship with her, even if it's not a reciprocation of the feelings that she is clearly showing towards him.
Hmm.
Like Cloud's supposed to be the one that all the girls go gaga for.
Right.
And that's really where I got that. But like for him to like it not just to be, oh, I want him because he's a bad boy and he treats me like garbage.
Yeah, right. And
Like
some
it's nice
you have to
that
wonder if
it's
some of it is also like the Mako, right? Like he's got Mako Macho. He's
he's an imperfect clone of Sephiroth.
except he's well, anyway. He's also
Right,
this dude Zach. I don't know.
it's weird. Like that's the truest true is I want this to tell a real story in a
Yeah.
way that like you have all this time to like sand off the rough edges.
Yeah, people want to know where the insanity of Kingdom Hearts stories comes from. Look no further than Final Fantasy VII as like the
Look
starting
no
point.
further than Final Fantasy in general.
Hmm.
Our second moon is a spaceship. Final Fantasy IV.
Man, I might have to go watch Spirits Within again.
God, what a great movie. I don't know. Oh, I drank a jalapeno beer. And I'd like to say jalapeno, interesting. No, I have a serious thing to address. And I'm sorry to do it so late in the episode, but I'm pissed. And I'm
Oop.
using my podcast as a platform to share my anger. Sejin, when's the last time you had bubblegum ice cream?
Uh, Probably been a while. I don't know, like a hankering one night back in college, but like not
What is
recently.
bubblegum ice cream?
So
to you.
bubblegum ice cream is usually in my head, I might be misremembering this, but it's usually pink and blue colored like swirl and has a bubblegummy flavor to it. If you get a good kind, it might actually have like small bubblegum pieces in it. Small enough that you could probably get away with swallowing them and they're not going to do too much damage to you. But not every bubblegum ice cream I've ever had has.
Well, every bubblegum ice cream I ever have has had bubblegum inside of it.
Oh.
Yesterday, I went to an ice cream place, and I will leave their name out of it, because I don't want to put them on blast. But I am probably going to write them a letter to be like, don't call this bubblegum ice cream, because the ice cream did not taste like bubblegum at all. It did not have that distinct bubblegummy flavor
Yeah,
that
that
you
like that you
described.
can only get from like a dentist when you go to get your teeth cleaned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fruitalicious is actually the name of the flavor, because I asked my dentist. And they're like, it's Fruitalicious. It's for children. And I'm like, does it do the same as the mint? And they're like, yes. I'm like, I'd like the Fruitalicious.
Look, it took a lot to get me to this dentist today.
No, I like going to the dentist, but I'm crazy. And the bigger offender to me about this bubblegum ice cream that I had yesterday was it had jimmies in it.
So it didn't taste like bubblegum, and not only did it not have bubblegum pieces in it, but actually had a completely different
But
sugar experience.
from a distance, the jimmies looked like those pieces of bubblegum that you described.
Mm.
And then I get to one and I'm like, oh yeah, bubblegum time. And I'm like, this is a friggin' jimmy. This is a sprinkle. This is a lie. It was like pink champagne ice cream.
Oh.
It was like pink vanilla with jimmies. It was not bubblegum. And I am asking the listeners of the Say Report, if you're out there and you're trying bubblegum, I need to collect data. I need to know if it's been a change to bubblegum, and I can't get the one that Sejin described anymore.
I know, man. It must still exist,
I
right?
have to try. I don't know. The only place I know that's open is the place I went yesterday.
Have you been to Sunshine Creamery in East Providence, Rhode
Sunshine
Island?
Creamery's not open yet.
Oh, out of season. All right.
Obviously, you think Sunshine Creamery? I saw Hook the day before I went there with friends, and then there was super windy and the napkins were all blowing around, and I said, "Fireflies from hell!" And the people we were with were like deeply religious and super offended that 5-year-old Devin, said that. But I said it because I just saw Hook.
I love this.
Fresh
I
in
love
my head.
reminiscing about 5-year-old Devin.
5-year-old Devin was a character. But yeah, no, of course, like Sunshine Creamery is one of the places I used to get the exact bubblegum ice cream you described. Jelina's in Coventry or Hilltop in the North Kingston, Rhode Island. Right? It's not really
Nice.
North Kingston. It's like East Greenwich, North Kingston line. I think that's exactly what it's supposed to represent. Same thing. But none of them are open yet. But then, like, I go to this place that, like, everybody raves about it, and it's because they all grew up around it, right? I didn't grow up around it, so I've never been. So I go, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to get? And I see bubblegum, and I can't beat up that small voice inside of me that's like, you got to get the bubblegum, because it's so rare that you can get it. So if you're out there, and you're someone who's eating bubblegum ice cream, let me know if it's still got the pieces in it. And as soon as I have
it
the
at least tastes like
information,
bubblegum.
it should taste like bubblegum. It was like, I'm trying to think of exactly what it reminded me of. It reminded me of, you know, like cake, when you're making a cake, like you can get
Cake-
like
Cake
little
batter. There's a flavor of ice cream
not
called
cake batter, not
Oh,
cake batter. It's for cake decoration specifically. They're like little beads,
Oh, the like little sugar beads.
the little
Yeah,
sugar
okay.
beads. It
Yeah,
felt
okay.
like sugar bead ice cream.
Okay.
And it was a disappointment. So if you know of bubblegum ice cream out there, please find me on Twitter at Devin D. Decker and share that information with me. I'm going to track it down. I'm going to enjoy it again.
And I didn't talk about it this week, but anybody that follows me on Twitter would see that I was raving today about Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts. Expect more of that in the future. I'm watching it now for like the third time. Yeah, and that will definitely get talked about, but I want to give some people in my life a chance to see it before I get too deep into it.
So you can find him at Siege versus the World. And
Talk
I
to me about
guess
that.
I actually have to watch Kipo and the Wonder Beasts, which will make Dale happy.
Yeah, I think Dale's gonna love the fuck out
Oh,
of it.
Dale
But
loves that show. She's looking for people to talk to about it because.
excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, then
So, yeah.
definitely watch it.
All right, so we've talked long enough. Thank you so much. Continue to be excellent to each other, especially in these trying times. And William, please take us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.